the American Civil War. A great time, or shall I say a very bad time, in America, where we kind of messed up a lot. And one of the main causes of the Civil War, as we were talking about, is slavery. Now, what you want to see with slavery is the art, selling, and trade of slaves, people that worked in the cotton mills and the farms in the South, that dictated them from the people living in the factories and other stuff in the North. Now, one major, cause of slavery would be, or the uprising of slaves, would be the cotton mills and everything else. Now, there was also a time in American history where that would be a dividing point for many people and many revolts. One revolt would later become the Civil War, but with that time, that revolt has now become something much bigger. They were battlefields, different battlefields of different wars from the frees and the slaves. Now, one of these battlefields was the Battle of Fredericksburg. Now, the Battle of Fredericksburg would later become a very important battlefield by the generals that have fought there, and also the beginnings of the Civil War also showed some other stuff, like the advantages of the South were that they knew the territory, they could defend off of it, which was much easier than having to actually take over the land and the territory. They had lots of money for farms and other stuff, but what they didn't have is a lot of sort of good weapons and people. Honestly, their defenses were kind of small since they could not use slaves, which made up the majority of the population then. And since slaves were not qualified as working people, or they were not qualified as people in general, they could not fight in the war. Now, as you can see by the map, the South and the North were greatly divided into where the South would be the slave states and the North would be the more free states, not completely free, but essentially free states. Now, the Battle of Fredericksburg. Now, the Battle of Fredericksburg was a very important battle because of the generals that fought there. Now, the overall winners of the Battle of Fredericksburg was the result of Saturday, December 13th. You know, Saturday, December 13th was near the Christmas, of course, or if they called it Christmas then. Yeah, it's called Christmas. And that was the start date of Fredericksburg and that battle. And then it ended December 15th the following year. Or not the following year, but the exact same year. That was very useful. That meant that, not useful, that was very good because that meant it only lasted 4 days. And it was fought in Fredericksburg, Virginia between General Robert E. Lee of the Confederate Army and with the Union Army being commanded by General Ambrose Burnside. Now, what happened was the Union Army had a lot of good frontal attackers on that day of the 13th, but Burnside had plans. Now, the plans were originally to cause a distraction midway at Rappahannock River at Fredericksburg, but that distraction then turned into an all-out attack, not meaning to. And after that, they realized that what their distraction was to block the river bridge, and after that, realizing it was an attack, they ran out of bridges. Yeah, that's what happens. You run out of bridges when you try to that. So, on top of that, the geographical sort of location was near a lot of that sort of rivers and stuff. And in November of that December with 15, the Union ended up losing. Union ended up losing. It was one of the most embarrassing battles that they lost, but they eventually made up for it. As you can see by the geographical map, it was near Murray Heights, Longstreet, and all that other stuff. And finally, the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. The 13th Amendment protected and abolished slavery and will continue to prevent slavery from this day. That's the 13th. The 14th Amendment declared that all people born and naturalized in the United States are American citizens, and that is including African Americans. And the 15th Amendment to the United States made it illegal or prohibits each government or every government of the United States from denying a citizen the right to vote based on the citizen's race, color, or previous condition that they might have been from family members or anything else relating to the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. I did not forget about the ironclads. Do not worry. The ironclads were something used in the warships of the Civil War and were basically better than wooden and other boats that were made with iron or ironclad material surrounding the boat's exterior to make it much better for bullets and other cannonball or whatever they used, and it was a much more effective way to bounce us off and for ships to keep on going, because before wooden boats would just break, get destroyed, and get sunken every single time they get hit by any type of bullet or anything, and now these ironclads boats, made by the workers obviously, were much better at protecting that. Thanks for listening, podcast obviously.